Hey guys, I'm starting the live stream a little bit sooner. They're still everything is getting ready. This live stream is going to be it's also going to be on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. They're just getting ready. Mitch Sylvester is here around somewhere. Let me show you how many people we have. Right now, I'm going to put my camera from Facebook down. Give me a second, guys. Let me just show you how many people we have here so far today. That's the crowd that we have. The event is not yet started, but I just don't want to keep you waiting. We have all the organizers here and everything. So we are about to get started. Give me a second. I'm going to switch the camera so you can see me. Guys, this is the crowd that we have right now. Everyone is getting ready for the event to get started. I don't know if you try to comment, guys, because I want to see some comments so we can actually, I can actually adjust it so you can see this. I'm using a new software today. John Bolton is on the stage already. He's getting something ready. Let me show you. He's there. He's getting ready. I just helped the gentleman put up that flag over there.
Yes.
Okay, John Bolton is testing the microphone. Guys, the event is about to start. Let me just show you how many people we have here in this room in Dalhousie. There's a lot of people signing outside still.
This is good.
Now.
That's his mic.
Oh, that's your mic.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's my mic.
I'm sorry.
Just for a live stream.
Like, why do we have an extra mic? Can we use this mic?
I just thought I'd let you know.
John just...
All right, gotcha. I won't mess with your mic.
No worries. It's just for quality of sound. I kept one of the microphones up there where John is, so that you'll be able to see. This is the entire scene that I can see from my seat. I hope the sound is good. Let me see where the comments are. I don't see any comments here for some reason. I don't know why I don't see comments, guys. It was there before. Let me see if I can fix it. Let me see if I can fix the comments. I don't know where they went. Yeah, I'm doing live stream. Sure. Give me a second. Oh, I think I see the comments now. Oh, perfect. Hey, Ingrid. See if people are taking pictures. Okay, I guess I see the comments.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What's that? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
It was awesome.
No, we are getting it started.
I watch him every day.
Every morning, man. Every morning.
Hello, Nita. Hello, Nita. I don't know if you can see the comments 2 times, guys, or one time on the screen. I'm just wondering.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. It was a quiet crowd and you've come to life. Wonderful. It's so good to have you here tonight. So good to be with so many like-minded people. I'm sure some of you have questions and may be questioning the independence movement, and you're going to get some answers here tonight. My name is John Bolton. I have a YouTube channel. It's, well, thank you. Thanks so much. I am honored to be out here tonight. I'm honored to be a little part of this. And I think we're all in this together, and that's the great thing about this independence movement. Mitch Sylvester is here tonight from State Free Alberta. We're going to be hearing from Mitch. Jeff Rath can't be here this evening. I spoke with Jeff the other day. He was sick. The big man is big cold. He's got a big cold, so he can't be here tonight, unfortunately. I know he'd like to be here for sure. We do have Dennis Kalma here. You might know Dennis. Dennis wrote Dennis co-wrote The Value of Freedom with Jeff Rath, so he'll be up here a little bit later. We're going to have a Q&A, so if you've got any questions, we're going to set you up down the middle here at the end, and you can ask Mitch and Dennis some questions, and I'll be handling the microphone, okay?
You're playing in a kung fu class.
I'm playing in a kung fu class. Oh, I see, okay. I didn't catch on right away. Okay. All right.
Okay, perfect.
That's funny. Don't forget, go to statefreealberta.com for information. If you're looking for petition places you want to donate or help out, that's the place to go. They've got a great database there now of all the petition places and different events around the province. It's remarkable, it's searchable. Thanks to the volunteers who are here tonight helping out and putting on this event. These are happening all across the province, as you've seen, and they just do great work. So thank you so much for that. And if you can volunteer, by all means do that as well, and you can become a canvasser and help out the cause. And just before I move on here, there are exits if we have an issue here tonight, exits to the side if you need to leave the building. I want to thank the Dalhousie Community Center as well for having us here. This is a short notice event. It really was. It was just on Monday I found out about this. And look, we filled the room, and the street's pretty busy. And if you haven't signed the petition, don't forget to do that, because you can do that until 9 o'clock here. These events have been happening back since January 2nd, but I think it was the January 10th event we had here in Calgary at the Queensland Community Center, when things started going crazy, and it's been continuing all month long. There will be a Q&A at the end, so if you've got any questions, get those together. Dennis and Mitch are here to answer the questions, but you're here to hear from Mitch. I'd like to thank Mitch for all the hard work he's doing. Mitch, just before he comes up here. Mitch bought a new truck. Maybe he'll tell you about the new truck. He's put tens of thousands of kilometers on his truck since the beginning of the year. He's so giving of his time. He's out at so many of these events. He's leading this movement. The petition's in his name. So let's bring up Mitch Sylvester from State Free Alberta. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that, but I'm kind of embarrassed about that. Anyway, let's talk politics. There we go. All right, what's going on with us? Let's talk about current events for a little bit. The first thing is that we have to thank you at Stay Free Alberta for making us so busy that we can't keep up. And that's basically what's going on. We never anticipated, we hoped, the excitement, the number of people that we have showing up, and the grim resolve in their eyes and on their face when they sign the petition. Because I really believe that for the first time in a lot of people's lives, they think that they're going to sign something that's actually going to make a difference. And I really want to thank all of you that have signed, and those of you that are on the fence. It's going to be my job to flip you over to our side tonight. Just that I'm going to do my very best to do that. And my problem with what I have to tell you is it's really an inconvenient truth. What I have to tell you is things that up until 4 years ago, I would have never believed were going on in my own country. I still actually, with all the information I have and all of the people that I can talk to, I still cannot believe what's going on. And we have to be very conscious of what's going on because, I mean, we have to also understand where we live and what we have to lose and what other people have to gain from doing what I think they're doing or what I know they're doing to us. So we're in a position, I've had people explain this to me before, where politics, sometimes nothing happens in 100 years, and then 100 years happen in 1 year. We're in that 1 year. We're in a position right now to make a decision for what's going to happen in Alberta and possibly Canada for the next 100 years or 200 years. So we have to be sure that we don't miss the chance to do what we need to do to basically preserve our lifestyle. And if Alberta used to be the place and could be the place, and if you come here and work hard, you can earn your way and have a really good living. And that was what I grew up with, and that's what I expect it to continue to be. So at any rate, let's start here. This is the question. This is the question that I put to Elections Alberta. This is the question I'm putting to the people of Alberta. Do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state? So just be aware, and for clarity's sake, that does not mean 51st state. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to answer that question 4 times a day. The other question I have to answer is, did you ask the US for a $500 billion loan? And the answer is no. And I want to, while we're there, let's touch on it. Why the hell would I take the chance, if I was in a position to do that, which I am not, take a chance of borrowing that kind of money from somebody that's foreign and give them that kind of power over us, which is exactly what we're fighting. We have a big government who has too much power over us, is absolutely overreaching. So why would we go from the frying pan to the fire? And I'm also going to share something with you. Why would Alberta need a $500 billion line of credit? Because we're basically not going to need any money, I hope. And if there's transition money that we need, we should be able to arrange that right here in Canada. And the other thing I dealt with this week is David Eby calling me a traitor. So I want to understand something, really, seriously. And I said this on a BC talk show this week. I said, well, Mr. Eby has a little bit to say about causing a little bit of divide in Canada. He won't let a pipeline go from Alberta to the coast, and basically shutting Alberta down, or trying to shut Alberta down. We're supposed to think that's okay, you do whatever you like. But should we try to change that situation, that's treason. And understand, we're on a legal path to accomplish what we need to accomplish. This is in the Canadian Constitution. Quebec's done it twice. And what's more democratic than getting a petition signed by the people of the province to make change within government? And they're saying that that could be possibly treasonous because we could have the nerve and the gall to go south and have a conversation with the partner, the trading partner, the biggest trading partner we have, that trades 88% of Alberta goods. So you would think that in that kind of a situation, that you should be able to at least have a conversation to see how they feel about it. And actual fact, the conversation was more of a two-way conversation, was, can you really do this, is what came from them. So, in essence, that's 100% what that conversation was all about. So that kind of gets you pretty much up to date with what's going on in our world. Oh, no, I got another story for you. So I had a guy walk into my business the other day, and my staff were, 2 ladies were sitting behind the desk, and a guy walks in with a rifle bullet and lays it on the counter and said, "This is for Mitch."
Oh.
So, true story. So my girls were terrified, employees. So we have a little system going on in our store that if we have a shoplifter or somebody like that, we're on CCTV. So we took a picture of his face and we put it out there, and we had him in 12 hours. So we're going to charge him with 2 counts of assault on the girls and death threatening me. So just so you know, RCMP called me and said, you're a local businessman and a political person, so we're going to take this very, very seriously, and we're going to do what we can to stop this from ever happening again. So that was our week last week. All right, we desire, and every Canadian desires, that the great trade of the prairie shall go to enrich our own people in the East, to build up factories in the workshops of Eastern Canada, and contribute in every way to its prosperity. That's how we started. and it continues today. It has never changed. So if we're going to have a conversation about basically breaking up a country, I think we should have a good reason to do it. And I think it should be clear to everybody in the room. So that's the path I'm going to go down tonight. I'm going to explain to you step by step what's going on, or what I believe is going on, where we're going, and actually how we got here, and actually how it started. And that's where we're at right now. I believe, and every Albertan we desire, and every Albertan desires, that the great trade of Alberta shall go to enrich our own people in Alberta. Yeah. To go back to Alberta and contribute in every way to our own prosperity. Now I'm going to ask you a question. I've heard people say, well, you guys are selfish. You're selfish. But I want you to understand something. I'm going to get to the pension slide a little bit further down the road here. But the reason that we're richer is because we work more. That's why we pay more in CPP, because we work more. The average worker in Ontario works 36 hours a week. The average worker in Alberta works 50 to 55 hours a week.
Oh, you got that right.
So it makes us selfish for working more. They don't feel bad about taking our money. That doesn't make them selfish, but it makes us selfish for daring to ask for actually what I consider to be a fair shake. Screw the West, we'll take the rest. Now that started National Energy Program in the 80s. So their big concern at the time was that Alberta was going to become the center of Canada. Calgary was going to become basically the capital. So what they wanted to do is absolutely stop that. So what do? They taxed the hell out of us. And they tried to break our oil industry. That happened in the 80s. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Sr., actually was the guy that instituted the National Energy Program to keep the wealth going to the east and keep Alberta poor. That philosophy has not changed. If you're in a business arrangement with anyone, for example, our federal government has multiple jobs, but the key job for them is to keep the people safe, number one. The second thing is to enrich your own people. And finally, to not do any harm. To not hurt your people. I don't think any of those things are unreasonable. Let's see what's happening. Now, just understand this before I get started. The Confederation is working exactly the way they designed it. Nearly 3/4 of the Senate is appointed. The Senate is appointed. It's more than 3/4, it's like 90 senators by Trudeau in the last 10 years.
Yep.
So understand this, it's a Liberal Senate. That's all I'm saying. It was within his purview to do that, and he did it. Western Canada has 11.7 million people and 24 senators. Atlantic Canada has a population of 2.4 million people and 30 senators. Alberta has a population of 4.8 million people and 6 senators. How's that work? Right? And that's the way it is. The elected officials, 42 seats in BC, 14 and 14 makes 70. Add 34 to that, that's 104 seats. Ontario has 121.
Holy
Fully half of the country has less representation than Ontario. So that's why elections are done before they get here.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody in the room believe that we will ever see another conservative government in Canada?
No. No.
And that's the biggest problem. Before the election on April 28th, I was actually independent Alberta within Canada guy. On April 29th, I was absolutely convinced that Alberta was never going to be governed by a conservative government in Ottawa. So we have a choice to make. I had a choice to make as far as I was personally concerned. I was going to be governed by people that don't think like me, and people, that screw the West. Alberta is conservative every single time, so these people don't represent our views, and they don't represent our lifestyle, and they basically, by the way they treat us, don't like us very much. The Supreme Court, same thing. 2 justices for all of Western Canada, 3 in Ontario. And then you have to go further, 3 in Quebec, and 1 in the Maritimes. And they're all bilingual. So what does that mean? Bilingual people tend to vote Liberal.
Yep.
I'm French Canadian. My grandparents were hardcore Liberals. I, however, have never voted Liberal, which might be a surprise to everybody here. But back then, the Liberals were quite moderate compared to where they are now. You know, I mean, they were more in line with actually our conservative governments are today. So the Supreme Court, I was just talking about them, they don't think like us. You know, the consecutive murder thing is something that I'm not as concerned about as that they determined that a 1-year mandatory minimum for child pornography depicting 3-year-olds is unconstitutional. So it's unconstitutional for them to give somebody that abuses a 3-year-old child sexually and puts it on the internet for everybody to see, a 1-year sentence is too much. That's not our people. We don't think like that. I don't think there's a man in this room that thinks like that. So that's just a symptom of what the people are that they appoint to judge us. That's the way they think. And in my world, that's a big problem. Equalization payments. We pay $13.3 billion a year in equalization. Quebec does not get to put its biggest industry in the balance sheet. So Alberta puts the oil patch in the balance sheet. As a consequence, Quebec is a have-not province, which is not true. Alberta, as a half province, gives $13.3 billion a year to Quebec. And understand this, it's year after year. Now here's the problem with that. And this was pointed out to me by actually the leader of the party Quebecois. He said they're buying your votes. They're using your money to buy votes for the Liberals. So per taxpayer in PEI, equalization is $6,000, $61.67 a year per taxpayer, $12,000 per home. In Nova Scotia, $5,800. New Brunswick, $6,500. Labrador, $729. Quebec, $2,851. And Manitoba, $5,897. And they're all Liberal provinces.
Wow.
And here's the problem. In order to change the Constitution in Canada, you need 7 out of 10 provinces with and 50% of the population to agree. So do you think we could get 7 out of 10 to change the Constitution in favor of Alberta?
No.
Just to stop, let's just use stop equalization. So, and the next thing is we need the support of the House of Commons and the Senate. That won't happen. And Quebec has a veto. How does that work? They didn't even sign the Constitution, and they have a veto so that we can't change the Constitution. I'm not mad at Quebec. They're doing a hell of a good deal negotiating on their behalf. Way better than us. But understand that. That power is just doesn't make any sense to me. And we need the approval of the PMO appointed Supreme Court if we're going to make a change. Which also, what I'm seeing, is not going to happen. Canada Pension. Okay, Canada Pension, Alberta pays the shot. Everybody else contributes. The only over-contributor, the big over-contributor, is Alberta. See that red line on the left? That's us. That's money that we give more than everybody else. BC gives a little bit as well. Every other province in Confederation is a taker.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
Wow. All right, so what happens is this. Our seniors, our workers, sorry, let's go with the workers. Our workers pay $9 billion a year to CPP. Our seniors collect 6. That $3 billion over-contribution goes into a fund for Alberta seniors. Alberta seniors, according to the CPP Act, which was brought about by Ontario, are entitled to that over-contribution plus interest anytime they want to call it back. That number, according to Bill Morneau, who was the former finance minister for the country, says at the time that the LifeWorks report was written was $337 billion. 2 years later, with interest, it's now $400 billion because they say CPP earns 9.5%. at 40 billion a year. So let's just unpack that for a minute. Actually, our premier's asked for that number this week. She asked for that number this week.
Wow.
But my question is, why doesn't she just call it back and negotiate the number after? Because there's a time lapse involved in doing that. And that would be a real big asset for Alberta. So let's just say that they give us half, $200 billion. At the current interest rate, that's $20 billion, plus our workers contribute 9. That's $29 billion asset. In pension, because that money has to stay in pension, right? So we have $29 billion a year that we're earning in pension. Our seniors are collecting 6. So we have a $23 billion surplus in pension. We could easily triple the pension
Per year.
and per year, and still put $11 billion in the fund and not touch the principal.
Wow.
And that's if they give us half. And in addition to that, we would have $200 billion to invest in Alberta projects, which they are not allowing CPP to do now because they're not green projects. So they're taking all the money, the overage of Alberta, the $400 billion that's in overage of Alberta, and they're not allowing them to invest it here. And also understand something else. You will not lose your Canadian citizenship in a free and independent Alberta. You remain a British subject for life, or a Canadian, a subject of the Crown. That does not, you can hardly repeal it. You can add passports, but you can't get away from being Canadian. So, fortunately or unfortunately, your pension will follow you everywhere you go. They cannot cut your pension out legally. That's the key. Legally.
Legally, yeah.
And they don't follow the rules. So, but what I'm trying to tell you by that previous conversation is, our workers pay enough money every year to pay your pension and most of your OAS. So even if they take it away from us, we still have the ability to pay easily, and I'm sure we would. We lose 47 billion net to Ottawa between, let's just say, those numbers are depending whether they include pension and EI or not, would go from 30 billion to 47 billion. But we have a surplus, a big surplus. What did I had a guy tell me last night, there's a certain amount, so if the difference between a million and a billion is if a million in seconds is like several days, 11 days. And a billion is like 30 years, 31 years in seconds. So that's the difference between a million and $1 billion. So just understand how much that is. $1 billion will build a state-of-the-art hospital complete. So $30 billion would build 30 state-of-the-art hospitals in Alberta in the first year.
Let's do it. Yeah,
Just understand that. That's how much money that is. When I became premier, I thought I could fix everything in 6 or 7 months, but everything's broken. At her level, what does that mean? Too corrupt to fix. And therein is the crux of our problem. Corruption. Corruption. That's the whole problem here. The whole problem here, I'm going to spend 20 minutes explaining to you how corrupt our government is. And that is the big problem. Our problem is not CO2. Our problem is not global warming. That's the window dressing. Our problem is government overreach and corruption. And we have choice. We have 2 choices, actually. We can let. What she did do, though, is she allowed us to do this. The UCP, and what that has done, you should be aware of 4,000 organized crime groups operating within Canada. Groups. So Mr. Eby, Fox Creek, down that area, they found a super meth lab that had 7,600 kilograms of fentanyl making chemical that came in through BC. Organized crime families are here is because we have no CTV, that's actually famous, and,
I've seen that.
and Moose is Loose was on there, breaking down all the things that he said. Because Jeff talks a lot. So that video is a perfect example of what he's saying and he talks 100 miles an hour, so that guy, the Moose is Loose guy, broke it down into parts, and I highly recommend you go watch it. It's iconic. It really is. All right, so what happens since we've got organized crime in Canada? Human trafficking has increased 210%, extortion 429%, child pornography 565%. All crimes associated with organized criminals.
Wow.
So is that making our country safer, like I discussed with you at the beginning, which is the job of the federal government, or not? Let's not talk about the last 10 years, because it was the most discouraging 10 years that I've had in the history of my being. So let's just understand this. Alberta is the richest piece of real estate in the world, liabilities, and it would be naive to believe that the people of the rest of the world do not want it. Because wars historically have been fought for what your neighbor has, so that they can afford to fund their programs at your expense. Now, without thinking very hard, would it be reasonable to assume that the communist Chinese don't have the resources that we have here? Would it be reasonable to assume that even Europe doesn't have the resources that we have here? And it would be also reasonable to assume that us as Albertans don't take it for granted and stand up and say, no, this is ours, you can't have it. And if our federal government was facilitating that, I don't think it would be a large stretch to say that we don't want to do business with you anymore. When plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. And an audit of $187 billion worth of liberal infrastructure spending finds 20,000 missing projects. That means the projects were paid for, but not built. 20,000.
Ooh, wow.
Did anybody go to jail?
No.
Is there anybody in the room that believes the Liberal government's actually stealing from us?
Yes.
Hands up, please. Yep. All right, so look around. So we're acknowledging that this is a very big problem. We know they're stealing from us. So we know they're criminals, right? Are we going to deal with it is the question. Let's go more. Gilbo.
Oh my God.
$254 million siphoned to his own company. Mr. Trudeau had to resign, over $400 million missing in his green slush fund. We scandal, how many? $800 million. $250 million for a vaccine factory that never produced a vaccine. We're not even trying very hard, and I don't know anything, and I'm well over $1 billion. And when you do find them guilty over the Arrive Camp thing,
Nothing happens.
they seal it for 75 years. So that's the judiciary. That's the second time I bring them up. That's two very good examples of why things around here don't work well. And Mr. Trudeau spent $11,000 million on overseas gender programs.
Oh. 11,000
So is
million.
money laundering possibly an issue in this country? Here's the problem with that. We run deficit budgets every year. So would it be out of the question for the Prime Minister of the country to say to a country, well, we're going to give you $1 billion and we want 900 million back? What do you think the odds are they'd get it back?
Zero.
And it's out of the country, and they can't trace it. And it's borrowed money, so you have to pay interest on it. Right? How do you spend $11,000 million on gender programs? You know, even 110 million. There's 193 countries in the United Nations. If we give them $2 million each, that's $400 million. That's 10-6 to go. Right? Foreign interference is the greatest strategic threat facing Canada's national security. And I'm going to get my mic set up for this.
I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China. We're heartened by the leadership of President Xi Jinping
Check the dates.
and the speed with which our relationship has progressed in recent months. I believe progress that we have made in a partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
So there you go. So in April, they were our biggest enemy, the biggest security threat to the country, and I've been made aware that even since the Korean War, there's never been a treaty signed with China. So we fought them in the Korean War. So they're still basically, you know, even though there's no hostilities between us, considered an enemy that we're at war with. And what I'm trying to tell you is, how can it be 6 months before that they're our greatest security threat, and then we're going to make up a business deal with the very same people in China, and we're going to claim that they're going to change our entire political system with them as a partner, obviously. And how's that look for us? Is my question. And how does it go from there to there in 8 months? Is also my question. So let's go there. Trudeau must reveal which 11 federal candidates China reportedly aided. 38%. So I found $30 million on the promise of growing business startups and creating jobs, and achieved neither one. Look at the look on her face. I don't know where that money went. Right? She was being asked there, where's our biggest problem? Where's our biggest problem? They're treating the country like it's their own business and they can do anything they want with it. Our laws and rules say that you cannot do this. You cannot take $130 million and transfer it to yourself, because it's not your money. It belongs to everybody in the room. Right? And again, just to emphasize, we're paying interest on that money.
That's why we're
And here's where it all starts. Let's go down the journey. Mr. Trudeau is not a buffoon. Mr. Trudeau absolutely understood every single thing he was doing, every single step of the way. He said, this is 2015 now, there's no core identity, no mainstream in Canada, and consequently that makes us the first post-national state, New World Order, 10 years ago.
So we can leave.
10 years ago. He said a post-national state is a state without borders, ruled by globalist elites that don't live here. Post-national state, after nation. So that's what he said. And here's the ring that controls all the rings. In 1954, there was a statute passed in the Criminal Code of Canada that said it was illegal for media to lie to the people. However, in 2019, C-39 changed that question.
Can't trust them.
And I have to forgive a lot of people, because people my age live their whole lives believing the media and thinking that the media could not lie because they would go to jail. However, those people still think the media is telling the truth because they don't know anything about Bill C-39. You'd have to come here to find that out, right? Because they don't publicize that. Step one of the conversion. Step two. Now, before I start here, I've been accused of being racist over this by the Financial Post. I am not blaming immigrants for coming here. Canada has a reputation of being a country that you could come here, work hard, and absolutely earn a good living. And you can be independent. You have freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of religion, all manner of that. And I don't blame them one bit for wanting to come here if that was the truth. Because that's why we're here. And that's what we're talking about tonight. That's what we want to bring back. The problem is uncontrolled immigration, and that's their part. That's the problem. The problem isn't the immigrants, the problem isn't who they are, the problem is uncontrolled immigration, no matter who that is. So the very concept of a nation founded by European settlers is offensive to me. Old stock white Canadians are an unpleasant relic and quite frankly replaceable. And we'll replace them. Has just reached the point where there's more immigrants that live there than natural-born Canadians. And Mr. Carney just came out and said, that's genius. Peter Sutherland, who worked for the United Nations, said this: we must use migration to turn the English people into a minority in England. This will allow us to undermine the identity of the native English and import a new majority that will end the very idea of globalism to take hold of England. And without being unreasonable, I want to ask you a question. If the goal of this whole project, and I don't know that it is, was to basically take over Alberta or Canada, would you think it unreasonable out of that 1.95 million? That's not unreasonable. I was in West Edmonton Mall 2 weeks ago Sunday before the last time I was in Calgary, and there were 6 very fit, non-English speaking Chinese boys trying to pay for something at a drugstore with 6 brand new winter jackets in their pocket. So I said, you know, I can be like this. I don't mean they're soldiers. But what I'm saying to you is that's what happened in my brain. My brain immediately went there. The lady that Jeff referred to me, she called me and she said that she had just been laid off and she was one of the people that processed immigrants. Her and the last time the federal or provincial government passed a law that actually made you richer and it was something you could see. Right? What we're talking about here, and I'm going to confirm the numbers, don't have a heart attack, Dennis. We're going to confirm the numbers here, that what we're saying is that on day one, or very soon after, we're going to give you up to 20% of the federal income tax that you pay in Ottawa, so you can keep it in your pocket. So we have school teachers striking for 4% raise. We're talking 20% on day one of money that we've never seen here in Alberta, because it goes directly to the feds. Not going to cost us anything to do. We'll just absolutely take it off your check, so you keep it. And the other thing is that we're actually talking about doubling old age pension. So the 2 things that we're proposing moving forward would be a 20% increase or decrease in your tax bill and doubling old age pension. Simple. So here's all those taxes: carbon tax, personal income tax, corporate income tax, GST, excise taxes, fuel excise tax, alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, excise on everything else, customs duties, air travelers, security tax, luxury tax, provincial, territorial tax, capital gains tax. You're getting tired? Land transfer tax, media tax, regulation tax, CPP tax, business tax, estate tax. Ridiculous. Nowhere in the world do they pay those kind of taxes,
That's 30.
except here.
That's 33.
And then, what happens this spring? Mr. Carney comes to Alberta, your carbon tax 6-fold. 6 times, which will, what will that do? That will increase the production cost on a barrel of oil from $6 to $10. How does that help Alberta?
Doesn't.
And the other thing that they're going to do is they're going to build pathways, which is a carbon-sucking machine to suck the CO2 out of the air in the province that has 600 billion trees and all manner of grassland. And it's going to cost you $20 to $50 billion for that project, which is not going to accomplish a damn thing. They call it a license to produce oil.
Going down the toilet.
And here's the next step. Inflation. So we've got their tax, they're lying to you, they're bringing in people to replace you. Now they want to take some money away, they're taxing the hell out of you, so now we're at step 4. I'm going to lose my track of all these steps here, but so just so you understand. So all of that is printed money. If you double the effective money supply in the country, you have the value of it. One during COVID with no audit. What do you think happened to that? You have to have an ability to pay that money back, which is more money than you currently have, because you needed to borrow the money so you could get better. So if you had to borrow this money to make your business bigger, you would have to earn more. So what does our government do? Puts a cap on oil and gas. So they're increasing the money supply and killing your ability to repay it back. Right? Very simple. A cap on emissions is ultimately a cap on production and prosperity. So every single thing that I've been talking about affects your prosperity directly, except the 20% raise that I just gave you. right? That also affects your prosperity. And why would they do this? Nowhere else in the world is cutting oil production. The demand for oil is going up. Nowhere else in the world would turn Germany and Japan down when they came to get natural gas from us, and our Prime Minister said, no, it's not in our business plan. So what is their business plan? They don't want to make us richer. They don't want to increase the GDP, and we're going to get to a slide that shows that. They're consciously trying to break the province. And there's no other way to look at it. And they won't let a tanker go down the west coast. But they'll let tankers come down to St. Lawrence and bring 1 million barrels of oil a day to Quebec. Who gets $14 billion a year from Alberta, but buys oil from Russia, Saudi, and everywhere else? How's that work? I want you to understand something. 1 million barrels of oil extra a day would create a lot of jobs and would create a lot of wealth in Canada. That would increase our oil production by 20%. Right there, right on the spot. And we have trillions of barrels of oil in the ground. And I learned something the other day that I didn't know, so I'll share it with you, is that our oil is oil that makes it easy to make diesel fuel out of, way better than Texas crude. Because our oil is dirty oil, but actually there's a benefit to it. All the byproducts that you can pull out of our oil are not in the other stuff. So our oil should actually be worth more money, not less. So here's the thing that they're using to stop oil production in Canada. And they pay no carbon tax. Neither does USA, neither does the USSR or Russia. None of those people pay carbon tax, just us. Neither do the Americans. And they're burning coal. Where does the coal come from? Here. They ship all that coal from the port of Vancouver to China. And they buy our coal at a discounted rate because it's supposed to be bad fuel. Kind of all works together, doesn't it? Yep. The best coal in the world is produced here in Alberta. They're buying it at a discounted rate so they can run the country. They're producing the CO2 that's crushing us. It doesn't stay floating over top of China. It goes all over the place. If it was a real problem, we'd actually deal with it. And here, what we got happening is none of them pay carbon tax except us. And there it is. Look for all those other countries on there. And here's the bills that they put in place to actually stop oil production. Blocking pipelines, tanker ban on the west, lots of oil and gas investment. We lost $89 billion worth of investment in. Here's the point of this slide. The carbon tax was actually ruled illegal in Alberta, but the PMO appointed Supreme Court reversed that.
Jesus.
So even if we win in court, we can't win. And here's the whole thing summed up in one slide. Norway has a $1.95 trillion oil fund, US dollars. 1.95 trillion US. Alberta is $100 billion in the hole. Norway produces 2.1 million barrels of oil a day, and Alberta produces 4.6 million barrels of oil a day. Where's the money?
Federal government's pocket.
Where's the money? Do you think we'll be okay?
No.
Just asking. 88% of our trade goes south. But you better not go down there and talk to them about it. Oh,
Why?
just saying. So, are we landlocked? We're landlocked today. And we got 88% of our trade going south. I told Mr. Eby via that radio thing that if we become a free and independent province, a country, we would stop the trains at the border. Because, and I also said this, the adults in the room understand something. If BC wants to ship 70% of everything that comes into its ports through Alberta, which they do, it wouldn't be unreasonable for us to be able to ship our product back the other way, would it?
No.
So that's when they said that I'm not very much for Canadian unity. I said, well, I think it would be a fair deal if it reciprocated. All right, if they think they're just attacking the oil patch, you're dead wrong. Every time that carbon tax goes up, the price of fertilizer goes up, the price of diesel goes up, the price of your groceries goes up, every single thing that we do goes up. Bill C-293 says that in the case of another emergency, the government is going to be able to come to your farm, seize your land and your herd. And they can't run a farm and they don't know how to feed a cow. So what's the purpose of that? So the purpose of this next little section on this presentation is going to be to show you and that you should be careful about the laws that these people are trying to pass. Bill C-293 is a deal. And what did they do? They killed all the ostriches.
Yeah.
Oh, I see now.
315 birds to stave off an avian flu epidemic is what they said, but they didn't test any of the birds.
Yep.
They wouldn't let them test them, but it was okay to shoot them, which they did. The Pfizer documents by Naomi Wolf, a confirmed lefty, is something that you should read. Required reading for everybody. It clears up a lot of misconceptions on that. And because it's so polarizing, that's all I'm going to say. COVID restrictions are about political control and power. All right. If you resist one thing in your entire life, resist digital ID and digital currency. Everybody in this room, I'm sure, understands that, but do you know anything about C8? Bill C8 allows Melody Jolie to kick you off the internet. So how could you possibly pay your bills? Without due process, without informing you. Right? That's what C8 says. C9, I have to read to you because it's so far out there, I have a hard time believing it. All right. This is a very dangerous bill. It uses the concept of naming a group, a political entity, the order in council names a group, a hate group, pursuant to section 83.01. From there, the members of the group are all guilty by virtue of possession of the symbol. Where Mark Miller, a liberal, in debate names the Bible and Torah as hate. And it's exceptionally evil, according to this, broad and typical only of communist countries. All right, now listen to this. This is what happens next. May, in addition to any other punishment imposed, be ordered by the presiding provincial court to be forfeited to His Majesty in right of the province in which for disposal. Don't worry about this. And red flag. Does anybody understand what the red flag rule is? The red flag rule is your neighbor can tattle on you and tell the RCMP that you have guns. The RCMP can then go to your house, seize all your guns without a warrant, and then you have to go to them and prove that you're not guilty. Right? And understand this, the amnesty is over at the end of October. I've had meetings with the Premier begging her to make an Alberta gun license. And the reason I'm doing that is because on November 1st, every Albertan that does not turn his gun in becomes a criminal. If it's a restricted gun. Understand, there's categories. So there's 350,000 PALs in Alberta. It would not be, because I sell guns, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that half of them have restricted guns. So 175,000. So it would be 175,000 Albertans on November 1st become criminals. So then what happens? They have to take your PAL away because you're a criminal. And so it would give them the ability to come to your house and get them all. The other thing that's going to happen is they're going to take your passport away because as a criminal you can't have a passport. So that's a problem. And if you go to Saskatchewan and get stopped, you're a criminal with a gun offense, you can be passing these laws. And this one is no. Maybe people kill people, but let's look at that. Honduras, with a population of 8.2 million, bans citizens from owning guns and has the highest homicide rate. Not only do they require it, they send their kids to school to become soldiers. After 2 years, they get to go home with their fully automatic weapon, boy or girl. So they have 2 fully automatic weapons in every home in Switzerland,
Wow.
and soldiers that know how to use them. I think that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
I really think that that would be a real good thing for Alberta and Albertans. It's universal, and they have the lowest homicide rate in the entire world because it only makes sense. They're aware, they're trained, and they're armed. And Danielle says if you don't want to get shot or beaten up, don't break into people's houses. That's castle law. We tried to get that law passed in our new Alberta Bill of Rights, but they said no. But the Premier is endorsing it there. So one of the MLAs actually had somebody up on her balcony, and she was all about castle doctrine, same as Doug Ford when he had a couple of people break into his house while he was in it. He said you should be allowed to shoot people that break into your house. I agree.
Yeah.
A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, that's a Second Amendment. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So you should be able to defend yourself and your home within the limits of the law from bad people.
Yeah,
And if you
exactly.
cannot, do you have any real freedom?
No.
And I'm going to tell you why that law was passed originally. So that they could protect themselves from government. That's what that was really initially about. Because they had just finished fighting the British, which were the most powerful nation in the world, and the Second Amendment came by right after the end of that war. All right, GDP. Our economy grew 1.4% in the last 10 years. There is absolutely no way you can do that unless you try in Canada. That's just more confirmation that what they're doing is consciously killing our economy. And at that point, Mr. Trudeau hands Mr. Carney the keys, so we'll spend 10 minutes looking into Mr. Carney. $86 billion in investment left Canada, I already told you that. And Mr. Carney says in his book, which I think is going to be required reading for me and everybody else, that Western society is morally rotten and has been corrupted by capitalism, which has brought about a climate emergency. And this, he claims, requires rigid controls on personal freedoms. But I want you to go down to the bottom. So rigid controls on personal freedoms is what Mr. Carney intends to do to you. That's New World Order. More control over you. He says it. That's what he says. That's his book. He wrote it. And what he also wants is a technocratic dictatorship, justified by climate alarmism, of course. There's a reason. A lot of those organs have to be harvested while people are still alive. A month. And that's guaranteed basic income. So let's take, right? That's not a big stretch. Does anybody in the room believe that the federal government's tampered with our pension money? 400, 500 billion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if they're,
Okay, if you have a question, what we're going to do here is, because we only have one microphone, we'll bring Dennis Kalma up here as well to answer some questions. And Mitch, you can stand right here.
I will.
If you have a question, if you could line up down the center here. And we're going to pass around a bucket as well. From what I understand, it's under $50. Is that correct, Jeevan?
Yes.
That's right. If you have a question, we can get Mitch and Dennis. You can come over here, gentlemen. We can make this a little bit easier. What is your name and what is your question?